wonderful diversity of party membership. We've got 500,000 members of the Labour Party coming from all walks of life. And yes, there's loads of debates in the Labour Party. Great! That's what politics is about. And our manifesto, long as it is, I'm very proud of it because of the hope and inspiration it offers for people for the future. And I'm absolutely determined that we will carry this manifesto out by winning an election. So when we fight this election, we fight it for the public ownership, we fight it for the green industrial jobs, we fight it for a national investment bank, we fight it for the mine workers' pension scheme to be fairly and properly run, not ripped off by central government. And we fight this election so that those women who were so abominably treated by the coalition government in 2011, the WASPy women, get their justice. And that was announced today. And of course it is about creating a country that's fit for the next generation in the future. And so whilst it's been labelled the Brexit election, and clearly that is a factor in some people's minds, I simply say this. If Johnson has his way, there would be a sweetheart trade deal done with the USA. If Johnson has his way, and we've seen the documents, well, we've seen half the documents, because the British ones have been blacked out and redacted, at least the ones I was sent. But the American ones weren't. They're more open about this stuff. They're very open. I think it's page 5, paragraph 6, little 1, something like that. Any agreement with the United Kingdom will require access for American companies to British public services, starting with the National Health Market. Well, last time I looked, it wasn't called the National Health Market, it was called the National Health Service. And not only is our NHS not for sale, our NHS is also one that I believe should be fully back in the public fold, because when you have private health companies taking legal action against local hospitals for not being given a contract, you think, wow, hang on, so Virgin Health thought they ought to run a service in Hospital X. The hospital thought they didn't want Virgin, so they didn't give them the contract. Virgin then takes that hospital to court on the basis that Virgin thought they deserved the contract. Obviously they did, because they thought they deserved it. And therefore they're going to be paid compensation by our NHS. Sorry, this is bonkers. This is ridiculous. I want our NHS to be publicly run, publicly owned, and those that work in the NHS employed in the public sector. And so we've got 2 weeks to go in this election. First of all, voter registration closes tomorrow. Please make sure every conceivable person you can find that is not registered gets registered. Give them the right to vote. That is obviously essential before you start the election campaign itself, which is now, of course, well underway. And secondly, when we're out campaigning, do what you've done so well here in Broxton. Do what you've done so well in this party, and that is you've engaged with people and communities. So we don't turn up on a doorstep with a didactic description of everything they should be thinking, doing and saying. You listen. You listen to what people say. You try and take on board what they're saying and why they're saying it, and try and talk to them and talk with them about the kind of society we have. Strong societies are those that work well together. Strong planning is when a community comes together to plan its community and plan its future. A strong education system is one that involves the students, the teachers, the parents, involves everybody in it. A strong industry, Royal Mail in the public sector, won't be one that's a top-down management from Whitehall. It will be much more participative with the workforce fully represented, as will the other areas we're bringing into public ownership. So I'm very proud of what our manifesto says, very proud of what it promises. And the last thing I'll say is this about housing and people's right to somewhere decent to live. We are a wealthy country, and we have now a growing imbalance of people forced into the private rented sector because they can't afford to buy anywhere, and they can't get council housing or housing association places because they are nowhere near meritorious enough of it because of the desperate state of so many other people. And there's a whole swathe, a whole generation of young people that are now in the private rented sector, had to borrow a lot of money to pay a deposit, and then have to pay very high rents with no security of tenure whatsoever. And so we've proposed the Renters' Charter today. John Healy explained it this morning on the BBC Radio 4 programme, and I've been putting it out there all day. I was asked by somebody earlier today about this and said, well, isn't this going to damage the private rented sector? I said, well, if you're a good landlord that treats your tenants properly and gives them long-term tenancies and you repair the place and it's environmentally sustainable, you've absolutely nothing to fear whatsoever because you're doing the right thing in the right way. However, if you're the kind of landlord that thinks you can get rid of tenants willy-nilly, that you don't have a place that is properly insulated, and you're charging very high rents, then I'm sorry, there's some regulations coming which are going to help you to do your job properly. And it's not that unusual all across Europe, or indeed many parts of the United States, to have a regulated private rented sector. And I want to achieve that, and I'm determined to achieve that. But I'm also determined that we will build, as Greg said, 100,000 council houses a year by the end of the first term in a Labour government to start to deal with the housing crisis. I was asked a bit ago by a local paper saying, Mr Corbyn, when you've won the election and you go into office, what's the first thing you want to do? I mean, wow, what's the first thing you want to do? There's a lot of things. There's so many things. The whole manifesto full of many things you want to do. And I very quickly said, look, the one thing I want to do is immediately put enough money into every local authority to end the rough sleeping crisis of our country. It's a moral issue that we have to be a country and a society strong enough to stand up for those who need our help and our support. So I've got to go to other places today and tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after and the day after and the day after, all the way through. And we're in such a hurry last week, I recorded the whole of the manifesto in 1 minute on a high-speed video. I don't know if you managed to keep up with my gabbling as I did it, but there is so much in that manifesto that we can get across there and so inspirational. But the fundamental message is this. It's about health, it's about housing, it's about education, it's about ending austerity, it's about bringing justice and hope to people's lives. Let the election of 2019 be the election where fear became hope, where concern became opportunity, where our determination to carry that message out across the whole country carried through, and we won that election for everybody in this country except those little bit, maybe 1%, who don't really want a Labour government. But I'm happy to represent the other 99%. Thank you very much for coming.
Before you all leave, we're going to try and get a photo from the corner over there looking